Well, what is going on, everyone? Welcome back to Kitchen Table TCG. My name is Louie. I hope you're having yourself a fantastic day. It's snowing here in West Virginia. Today, we're going to talk about Avatar: The Last Airbender, the new card set, the new set for Magic the Gathering. Pre-release is on Friday night. There are 5 different pre-release kits for these. These have different cards in them, and then your 6 packs that you build, which is pretty cool. We're going to talk about the set, and then tomorrow, or maybe previously yesterday, I'll do a collector box opening on the channel, so make sure you stay tuned for that. But yeah, let's get my gripe right out of the way. Okay, I do want to talk some positive about this set, because there is some good things about this set that I think are going to do really well. But I want to get the gripe out of the way, because it's the only thing on my mind. We are currently packing orders and setting up our shelf and getting things ready for release. We don't sell the product early, obviously, but we do put product up there with a little tag that says available Friday, just kind of encourage people to pre-order and encourage people to know that the product is coming out. And there are so many products. As a store who tries to have everything available, there's only so much shelf space, and like this set would take up what is 6 sets on our shelf. It will take up the same space that Spider-Man, Edge of Eternities, Tarkir, Final Fantasy, Aether Drift, and Duskmourn take up in terms of the booster boxes on display. And from a logistics standpoint of, I heard from distribution that they're frustrated too, because packing all this stuff up, and from our side too, packing stuff up is just a pain, and the stuff takes up a ton of room. It reminds me of how complicated this game has gotten from a product standpoint compared to Pokemon's different, because Pokemon releases so many different products. They probably release the same number of products. They're just not all out at the same time. But there's just so much to organize and to skew and to keep in track. So let me know in the comment section if you like this. I think that it produces a lot of confusion for the customers. I think customers walk in and they have this kind of overwhelming, like, what do I buy? What do I do? And then for people who know, people like that are engaged in the hobby, people who are cracking packs and flipping singles and they're really engaged in the hobby, or even just collecting the cards, they have to know what's in the Jumpstart box that's not in the Play box, that's not in the Commander bundle, that's not in the regular bundle, and what's in the Beginner box that's not in the Scene bundles. And if they want to collect it, it really makes it difficult for them to get the product that they want. I miss the days when everything was just in one booster box and that was the game, and it was simple for people. But that's my gripe. I told you I wanted to get the gripe out of the way. Let's talk about some of the good stuff. And here's the good stuff. This set feels like Magic the Gathering. I've talked to a lot of people who are just excited about the set, who don't know Avatar, who aren't big fans of Avatar, but who feel like this is much more similar to Final Fantasy than it is to Spider-Man, in that it feels like characters that would or could exist in the universe of Magic the Gathering. And that is a large win. And I've said that for a long time. I think that is a win for Universes Beyond when major sets like this feel like they could be a Magic the Gathering set. In other words, if Avatar: The Last Airbender didn't exist and Magic came out with a set that said, hey, this set is called Avatar: The Last Airbender, you would be like, oh, that's a cool Magic set. It makes sense. The Spider-Man set didn't make sense. It didn't fit in the niche that is Magic the Gathering. And I think that's a really, really big win. I think that's why you're seeing the boxes on the secondary market and the boxes move and product be purchased, because people actually want to engage with it as Magic the Gathering fans. And here's the other side of it. I have heard from a good chunk of people who don't typically come to our pre-releases that are just excited for Avatar. And we didn't see a ton of that for Spider-Man. I don't know why. Maybe that was just locally. Maybe that was a whole global thing. I tend to think it's a global thing. But there seems to be a good chunk of excitement for the Avatar fans to hop into Magic the Gathering. And we have probably 4 or 5 people already on our pre-release list that have never been to a pre-release. Maybe they've dabbled in Commander. Maybe they've dabbled in the store at, you know, board game nights or in Pokemon trading and buying and that kind of thing. But they are what I would say people who are coming over from Avatar into Magic the Gathering. I think that's a big win. We saw a lot of that with Lord of the Rings. I think that was the biggest win of the Lord of the Rings. And I think if Universes Beyond is going to do anything, it needs to do that. So I think that's a really, really good win for Avatar as we look towards this set. And now the last thing I want to talk about with Avatar is the collector box. As you know, over the last year or two for Magic the Gathering, collector boxes have become kind of a speculative object, things that people are buying, not just to crack and open, which is happening a ton, but also as collectible pieces or as investments and that kind of thing. And I'm not here to say whether that is good or bad or whatever, but I do think it's interesting to compare this set with some of the previous sets. And if you compare this to the most recent set, Spider-Man, the closer we are getting to release, we're starting to see more excitement and more hype for Avatar than we saw kind of the opposite effect for Spider-Man. When Spider-Man got closer to release, people started saying, uh-oh, this might not be very good. And it turned out to kind of be a flop for people who bought boxes early. But we're starting to see the Avatar velocity of sales on TCG Player Pickup. 55 sold per day feels much, much closer to what was going on with the Final Fantasy and even a little bit of the sets before then. I don't think this is going to be another Final Fantasy, that kind of thing. I'm not saying that, but the demand seems good is what I'm saying. The demand seems healthy. It seems like people are excited for the cards in the box. People are excited to open up the product. And that in turn, I think, means that people will want to collect it and kind of buy it and that kind of thing. So I think Avatar collector boxes are going to be really cool. Like I said, we're going to open one on the channel. It'll either be yesterday's video or tomorrow's video. And it's going to be really interesting to see how the boxes feel. Because Spider-Man, there was a lot, the other side of this whole thing. Spider-Man, there was a ton of duplication. There was a ton of duplicate cards within the box. There wasn't enough cards in the set. And this set is bigger, I think by 25% or something like that. This feels like a much more full Magic the Gathering set than Spider-Man did. And so I think it's going to do much better. So those are my thoughts on Avatar leading into pre-release weekend. We'll probably do a follow-up video on Monday to let you guys know how our pre-release went. That's kind of the trajectory of our videos, typically on set releases. Let me know what you're excited about in the comment section, and then make sure you subscribe and you hop into the channel to watch the Avatar collector box open, which we'll do soon. There is one other thing I wanted to say, which is that what I've heard is that the Avatar fan base is much younger than the typical Magic fan base. And I did not watch Avatar: The Last Airbender. That was not something that I grew up on. But what I've heard is that the next kind of 5 to 10 year mini generation behind me is a huge fan of Avatar. And I think that's a really big win. And if that gets more people into Magic the Gathering and it still feels like Magic the Gathering, I think that's a really big win for the community and for everything. So I'm trying to be excited for Avatar. Hopefully you have a great time at pre-release. Remember to be kind to the people around you. We'll see you again next video.